Hello, my name is Sarah Kelani and I am the AAA tutor at PhoenixFT. This video is for the exam tips for the AAA professional level paper. Now, I'm going to start with basically the structure of the paper. The structure is divided into two sections. Section A is the 50-mark case study question, while Section B, you've got two questions, 25 marks each. Now, the first case study, that is half the exam, but is actually split into multiple requirements, and it's mainly going to be about the planning stage. More often than not, it's about the group entity. So first things first, you really need to be comfortable with your group standards, with things like goodwill, NCI, consolidation, mid-year acquisitions, anything that is regarding the group. Now, what is going to come in question number one? The requirement is going to be provide some briefing notes, and this is where you can get your professional marks. 4 marks, that is one basically based on the headings, so 2 from subject. Second is on the introduction. Third is on the subheadings and paragraphs, so basically writing audit risk and each audit risk and paragraphing it properly. And finally is on the language and flow. So if it makes sense, if it reads out nice, you're going to get that mark. So please make sure that you don't forget any of those nice and easy marks. They are the difference between a pass and a fail. Now let's get into the requirements. 100% of the times you will be asked to identify and discuss audit risks or risks of material misstatement. So most importantly, guys, make sure that you structure your answer properly. So having materiality, very important, don't forget to calculate it. So the calculation along with your conclusion, material, not material. Second is make sure that you discuss the issue as well as the accounting standard. Finally, ending with the risk, which is basically how does it impact the financial statements, understatement, overstatement of the P&L and the SOFP. So make sure that you include all of these items to maximize your marks. Now, it may be asked or may not, business risks. So some sittings business risks are there, some are not. So generally it's a 50-50 chance. Please don't base your guess that is it going to come or not based on the prior sitting, because the examiner can bring business risk twice in a row. Now, it's very important to understand the difference between business risks and audit risks, which is basically a business risk is the risk of the business not achieving its objective, while an audit risk is the risk of us giving the wrong opinion. So please don't confuse both. Now, generally, question 1 will also include writing up some procedures on an issue or 2. So here generally is where students can really maximize on their marks. So make sure that you basically write the verb, the rare copy, inspect or review, that is fine. Verify is also okay. Recalculate, reperform, physically inspect. So all of these are the verbs. And make sure that you write the reason why. So why are you inspecting this document? What are you looking for it, and what assertion does it cover? You generally get 1 mark per point if well written. There may be possibility of getting some half marks if it's not that great. Now, then you may have another area as part of the syllabus, as part of question number 1. Sometimes other assurance services comes here, but most likely you will be getting an ethics question as well as part of your planning stage. So that is your question number 1. Talking about the structure of question number 2 and 3 now. Question number 2 is generally about your completion and reporting. So you would have things like matters to consider. What would you consider in some of these accounting issues? And either you're going to require some evidence to obtain, some procedures, as well as how would be the impact on the audit report. You may as well be asked to criticize an audit report, so you may have either writing an impact on the audit report or criticizing an audit report, or even both. right? So you need to be comfortable with knowing the structure, the proper structure of the report, and also knowing how would the impact be. So it's going to give an adverse opinion, or it's going to give, for example, a qualified opinion. But you need to be careful, guys, that you include all of the steps. So you write the reasons why are you giving that opinion. So is it immaterial misstatement? Is it pervasive or not? If it's pervasive, why is it pervasive? If it's not, then why do you think so? So you need to write the steps to actually reach the conclusion of this is a qualified opinion. The last question, the examiner said that it can be part of any other part of the syllabus. And in this case, really, it can be from anything. In most cases, you can be tested on other assurance services, quality control, other professional issues, can be issues like going concern. It can be anything, right? Now, for other assurance services, make sure that you're comfortable with things like due diligence, prospective financial information, social environmental reporting. So these are the common ones that generally come. Forensics as well. Just make sure that you are comfortable with them, know how the matters that you would consider in such a review, and as well how to write procedures on them. So that is your exam, guys. Now I'm going to leave you with basically some final tips. AAA paper is a very lengthy paper, so I do get many students who come out of the exam and tell me I didn't finish. And the problem with that is time management. So you need to practice a lot. You need to be able to stop yourself. So for example, we know that question number 1 is 50 marks, and therefore you have to stop in an hour and a half. Now, dissect that 1 hour and a half into further questions. So if you've got an audit risk question that is 24 marks, then that's nearly a quarter of the exam. So you would need to spend 45 minutes on it. Do not spend any more. So stop yourselves, guys, because you can easily get more marks if you go and do other questions than that additional maybe 1 mark if you write, you know, an additional risk. So make sure that you do time yourself to be able to finish the paper. Now, second thing, guys, and I do emphasize on that a lot, you do need to be quite comfortable with all of your accounting standards. It has been becoming more technical in the exam in these last few sittings. It is becoming very technical in terms of the accounting standards. So you do need to know the details of all of the accounting standards and knowledge, and be comfortable with the standards to be able to easily identify the risks. One more thing, guys, is that you need to be tidy and presentable. Remember, guys, they are humans who are basically marking your paper, so you need to kind of impress them. If you can't impress them, at least make it easy to read. Final thing, guys, is that when you're approaching this paper, guys, it is many questions, it is a lot to do. So for the beginning of every single question, guys, please make sure that you have an answer plan. So structure, so especially for question number 1. So if you look at question number 1 and you identify that there are 20 marks that is for audit risk, try to make an answer plan and see how many points do you really need to write. Do you need to write 4 or do you need to write 15? Right? Neither. You would need to write maybe around 7, 8, maybe 9, depending on how many marks each point is. But I would say 8 would be an average for a question that is a 20-mark question. If you write maybe 7, that would be okay, you would pass the question. But if you write less than that, 6 points, I would try to write a little bit more, but I wouldn't go way above that. So let's say you've already found, let's say, 10 risks, and you've already talked about them. And even if you have a little bit more time, don't go over that. Go spend your time doing another question, because that's the maximum, guys. Don't overdo it. So now that's not very likely that you would find that many, but the whole idea is that some people know a lot about certain items, and students tend to write more about what they know, and just focus on what the requirement is asking and how much are they asking for it. So yes, it's a lengthy paper. Yes, you're going to write a lot, but it is quality over quantity. you need to make sure that you are writing for the marks, not just writing what you feel you know, or the more of it. So one statement can get a mark and you may write it in a full paragraph, but the statement was enough. You don't need to actually repeat yourself in other words, right? So that is basically one of the main mistakes that a lot of students do, is that basically they repeat themselves in other words, which basically gets no marks. You've already gotten the mark. Basically I'll leave you with that. And the last thing that I would want to tell you guys is please practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect, and good luck in your exam. Thank you very much.